Okay, so we are back with some more no items runs with the Piccolo team here. And again, I think the Piccolo team is actually like, pretty good, right? I think that there is a lot of good options that can be used for this Piccolo team in many, many stages of difficult content, right? So first and foremost, Piccolo Jr., I think he's really good, obviously, right? I really would like to see a new partner with him sooner than later, but I do think that he's quite a formidable unit even now. I mean, he works really well with some of the like best villain teams that are in the game currently. Coolers, yeah, basically coolers. The meta coolers and then S tier cooler is actually really really good for this guy. Orange Piccolo, he does work okay with, right? But the issue with him and Orange Piccolo is that they only share two links: Fierce Battle and then the Transform link. Transform is a pretty solid link, right? 3 key and then 10% attack, 10% defense, I mean. That is able to work pretty well. And then Fierce Battle is just 20% attack, but like, that's not really a lot for links, right? One good thing about Piccolo Jr. here in this stage, by the way, before we continue on, is that he does actually have, again, the high chance to stun with him doing the, like, all these additional supers. So what happens is, with him doing all these additional supers, he's very likely to stun the first phase, and that just allows you to take 0 damage, right? So I did bring S tier Piccolo. I'm not really a fan of S tier Piccolo on this team. Like, he could work, but he's not like, a really good option compared to like other villain units. Like, I probably should have just put S tier cooler on this, team besides it. But since this is obviously no item runs, I feel like, prioritizing defense a little more may have been the smarter move. Obviously, we did get the no item here, so it works either way. But the thing about STR Piccolo on this team specifically is that he doesn't get his reduction, right? He gets the 15% damage reduction per movie heroes category ally that's on the rotation, but the only other unit right there is Orange Piccolo. So I think one build that probably works really really well that I might even want to try in a separate video is Orange Piccolo plus S tier Piccolo. Then you run like Cooler and then Golden Frieza as a rotation. Then you float the Juniors actually, because they're actually really really strong, like slot 2 or 3. And I don't know, you float another like big bad bosses kind of unit maybe, or someone that can give Cooler those links in slot 3. I don't know, or yeah, because big bad bosses is important for Cooler, but maybe at least like Thirst for Conquest, where like you just float like this LR meta Cooler for the revive. He has good links, and then on the turn where he's on the Piccolos, if he dies he just revives, right, and you're all good to go, right? At least that's my thought process for like how a team build could work, for this team. Though ideally you do have Piccolo Jr. in rotation, because he's like at his peak, he's the best unit on the team, even over Orange Piccolo probably. Like at his peak, where it's like, so there's a turn we get later on in the video against the Cooler Core section, but he gets his giant form off, then he uses his active skill, and then he like does like 4 super attacks. And then it's like, well, okay, that's pretty absurd, right? Oh, actually it's 3 super attacks. I'm gonna do 3, right? And explain more later about that. There's a misconception he could do 4, but whatever. Anyways, we had no issues getting through the actual Broly portion because Metal Cooler was able to revive. Now the issue here is Metal Cooler reviving means that he's basically exposed right here at the final stage of Broly. You see his defense wasn't really too high. The reason why for that is because my Metal Cooler is actually free dupe. He's in level 10, but he's only free dupe, so he could very easily die to a AGO Broly super attack. But luckily, I had my boy AGO Golden Frieza. AGO Golden Frieza I brought over the LR one because this event is slightly longer, so I feel like AGO Golden Frieza may have been a better option. Luckily we got I think we got like a major heal from last turn, which is really really cool. I believe it was I forgot who healed us last turn. We got a good amount of healing with the orbs and stuff like that, right? Maybe I'm misremembering something. Like I had to do a couple of runs for this fight, because the thing about this fight and me doing a couple runs is I had issues. Like I tried to run different units. I was trying to run STR Cooler, and I kept getting screwed over by the AoE, which is again why I decided to opt for STR Piccolo, right? That AoE phase is still really really dangerous. So the fact is, if you're able to get the giant form active during the AoE phase, you're good, right? And it's like you disregard the AoE entirely. And then we have Orange Piccolo in our back pocket. He could also essentially disable the super attacks for the turn by letting the enemy use up their supers. Just a stupid team, right? When I was talking with some people, and there's the concept of running like a full giant form team, and then you have like AGL Meta Cooler, you have both Piccolo Juniors, Orange Piccolo. Tech Hachiak is actually a pretty good linking partner with Piccolo, right? He will give him Thirst for Conquest, and he'll have Tough as Nails, which is actually quite a good link. And also, I think Big Bad Bosses, right? Like the 3 really strong defensive links. And I'm trying to think of another giant form unit that I'm just like there's another one that I'm not thinking of at the top of my head. I mean, let me open my game and let me actually check that out, because I know there is another like giant form unit that you can definitely bring up there. And like I know some people were saying like Grade A Vegeta, and it's like, you know what, you could run Grade A Vegeta as a floater theoretically, if only that unit had like Thirst for Conquest or something like that to be able to link with some of these other villains a little better. That'd be nice, right? Like a Turles type of link. So like Turles is a really good like the link set, I think, right? Is what I'm trying to say. He has a really good link set for like villains and Saiyans, right? Because he has your general brave battle, fierce battle. Maybe he has like Saiyan warrior race or Saiyan lineage sometimes, but then he also has Big Bad Boss, just Thirst for Conquest. Like his link set is pretty ideal for what like an extreme class Saiyan would want, or like something like Rose as well, right? But Grade A Vegeta, like Saiyan Saga Vegeta, just doesn't get that love. But anyways, I think this team is able to work really well, but I'm not really necessarily a fan of this build. I just feel like I just need one more unit. What I need is Demon King Piccolo LR, and maybe he revives into Piccolo Jr. I think that will be like the last kind of piece, and then you could just throw off physical Meta Cooler. I think that would be ideal. Just another, maybe like a strong slot 1 early on unit for this team again. Like again, Demon King Piccolo, if he's like slot 1 for the first few turns. And then at the bare minimum, you could end up running the Piccolo in slot 1. He's actually quite a strong slot 1 unit once you have him built up, right? Just even with just his raw defense, right? But I feel like over the fight, you definitely want to prefer him in slot 2. So here we are in Omega. I did actually bring Turles here. Turles is a good option for a lot of these teams, but it's just that with no superclass enemies, he does not get his full passive ability up. And not having the extra defense support does hurt a little. And if you transform with him, like for example, I actually ran Turles against Broly initially because of the STR phase. But then I got to the end, and then like he had 200k defense, he transformed. And then it's like, bruh, really? And he just died to me, right? So I'm like, that sucks. But yeah, Angel Turles is actually pretty good here because he has type advantage in the second stage. He gets stunned right here in the first stage. The last stage, he could take damage from normals is what I'll say, but he'll be fine, honestly. So if you get a transformation off with him and he heals and he stacks, he's actually able to tank pretty well. Another thing, Piccolo here, again, can stun this fight, right? The first phase, which is really good. So there's 2 of the like final red zone bosses that he can stun. Now, one of them, I feel like Broly is still the hardest red zone fight personally. But I feel like Omega is the easiest one. It's kind of funny, but it's like we only have 4 like red zone stages that we can like realistically play over and over. We do have technically 5 red zone fights that got introduced to us, but obviously we can't really do the Heroes red zone outside of the Hero Celebration, right? That's a big thing about it. It's like specifically for the Hero Celebration. And besides, I think you could, is Cumber harder than like Omega? He might be, honestly, because Cumber does have those really annoying AoE attacks that like could get you off guard, and then some of the units are floating. And then he also has type coverage, right? Because that AGL phase into STR, right? You want to bring your strong STR units, and like, oops, he's AGL and AoEing you. That's really annoying. Cumber is actually still, he's relatively powerful. But there is going to be an addition to this team later on that I think would have worked really well here, and that is Physical Piccolo, right? Physical Piccolo does not have his Easy A yet. He does Easy A, he'll Easy A in 2 days by the time this video goes up, which I'm actually recording the same day, so yeah, 2 days from now, right? And he, with the Scouter and everything, he has healing stacking. He's going to be quite a strong option here. STR coolers, like both of them are really strong. I use them against the core, so we'll talk about them in a bit later. But yeah, I mean, I'm taking a look here, and it's like it's really top heavy. Like there's a lot of really strong top tier units, but like you kind of look beyond the top tier units, and it's like, who do I run to kind of fill out the team, right? If you don't have like these best units on the team, like LR Golden Frieza, or some of these other units, right? It's just like, who else am I gonna really run to allow myself to compete in difficult content? So hopefully, even though the category is massive, right? Villains just need much, much more. And over time, Terrifying Conquerors, we can get way more different villains. So that's at least a good thing to see. And I'm looking here at the Giant Form category. Who else could you run, like, realistically? You know what could be a really good, interesting buff? The Super Saiyan 3 GT Goku with his EZA. Like, he actually could be potentially an okay option here. Bergamo, maybe with his EZA. Does Bergamo have, like, tough as nails or anything? No, he does not have tough as nails, I think, from what I'm taking a look here. But that's fine, right? There's a bunch of units that you can still run here. And, in the future, maybe there could be a really strong, like, full giant form team. I mean, you could probably run Hirudegar and Tapion. I think that he could be an okay option, right? In certain situations, give me a tap advantage, but there's no, like, STR, like, final phase red zone boss besides, like, Cell. That's really, difficult-ish. So that's an issue. But I think this team has a lot of potential in the future to grow with different, buffs, right? Again, Frieza, I feel like, besides Golden Frieza, there's not really good Friezas in the game, right? We could easily use a good final form Frieza, a EGL full power Frieza, maybe Easy Ace this year. That could be quite helpful for us. Again, LR Demon King Piccolo could be really interesting. I think we're definitely good on Cooler. Cooler is in a quite a good spot right now. I'm trying to look for other big bad bosses units here. A new Bojack and STR Bojack EZA with like a new Bojack would be really good. I mean, the thing about like Int Bojack is I can't really run him on this team because it's like very like there's Piccolo now, so you want a full like space traveling warriors team for this Bojack, but that's not really gonna be a thing. But if we got like STR Bojack's EZA, he doesn't support Piccolo because he's space traveling warriors. Maybe they add a category to that, right? And maybe the new Bojack could be really good still for this Piccolo. A new Turles, I think we could use STR Turles. Eventually he'll get an EZA and I think he'll be a good option. First form, second form, and third form Friezas, and then I'll talk about them. But they could all use new cards. And, first form Frieza has an LR from the moment where he blows up, like, Planet Vegeta. I think that's like a summonable LR worthy moment with good animations that we just do not have yet, right? We got Bardock, but we don't have that full first form Frieza, right? And I think that could be an interesting option. Baby has not gotten a Dokkan Fest. Like, there's a lot of potential for this Terrifying Conquerors, like, Piccolo-based team that I think would be good. And I do think I like Piccolo as a leader here better than LR Final Form Cooler. I do think Piccolo is a better unit than LR Final Form Cooler as well. And Piccolo requires a lot less time to build up. And I feel like he's less, like, if we're going to say, like, RNG dependent, I think Piccolo is much less RNG dependent than what Final Form Cooler would do. And again, like, especially because of the giant form into like active skill turn, like being able to just nullify all super attacks in that turn is just absurdly powerful and is able to help quite a lot of units in difficult types of content. So here we are in the Metacooler core. Funny, I didn't really talk about the Omega fight. Was like, Omega fight's pretty easy to kind of get through. I just put it right there in the middle, just because it's like, it's there, right? I wanted to put Broly first, just because Broly is the one who gave me the most trouble there. By the way, if you hear like a little noise in the background, it's like the wall is like making a huge noise. I think like someone, like, I don't know, someone upstairs or nearby is like using a freaking washing machine. It's like, okay, thanks. But whatever. Piccolo is able to actually build up pretty fast here, right? He gets his triple super. And the good thing about this team is that a lot of them lower attack, right? We have LR Cooler who lowers attack, this TUR Cooler can lower attack, which unfortunately he only got 3 normals and he got supered right there, so that sucks a little. He took 450k, which is quite a lot, but we were able to recover pretty quickly, I feel. So STR again, Final Form Cooler. I did put him in the first slot so I can get all these in orbs. Since he was already debuffed by the physical Metacooler, I'm like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. And yeah, it really wasn't. And then now he could actually debuff the enemy right here. I guess one thing I forgot about Piccolo Jr. is that in the first slot, he actually does debuff the enemy by 30% attacking defense. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that. But he does debuff the enemy by 30% attacking defense. So if you put him in slot 1, he's able to debuff the enemy, which I do remember at this upcoming turn. But that 30% debuff is a game changer for the cooler core. See, Piccolo was able to take that for double digits. My 69% Piccolo was able to eat that, which is really, really good. Golden Frieza got another debuff there. I decided to put Piccolo in slot 1 just because I wanted to not only get legendary power there, but get the debuff. I was a little worried about Orange Piccolo because, again, Orange Piccolo in this fight does not have his intro buff active because I didn't run STR Piccolo. I mean, I could have ran STR Piccolo here. I think he's a really, really good option, but I valued having the coolers over, you know, STR Piccolo on this kind of build. I mean, LR Piccolo on this kind of build. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much that. I mean, like if we get like a Demon King Piccolo, would you replace Orange Piccolo on this team instead of like some of the other coolers? I don't know, because like we don't have like a Bana Master Disciple really good unit on this team besides the STR Piccolo and, you know, Orange Piccolo himself, right? He needs another one. I guess like you could say there's two different ways you could run this team when, you know, Easy Piccolo comes out, maybe like Demon King Piccolo. Like, let's theoretically say we have Demon King Piccolo come out and then STR Piccolo. You go in like a Namekian space team where it's like, you know, Orange Piccolo plus the Piccolo Jr., then the other rotation of Demon King Piccolo, and then the Piccolo Jr. Then you float like, you know, Physical Piccolo, STR Piccolo, and, you know, I guess you could just throw like a Golden Frieza in there, Physical Meta Cooler on there or something, and then you're kind of cooking with that team, right? Or you could just go full like Terrifying Conquerors where you run like STR TUR Cooler, LR Cooler, AGL LR Golden Frieza, right? And then keep them out of cooler, right? Maybe a future Bojack, a Frieza, right? A baby, right? There's a ton of different ways. So it's cool that you could build the Piccolo team in two different ways if you wanted. My biggest gripe is that Piccolo doesn't actually have the Namekian's link, right? If you had the Namekian's link instead of like even honestly tough as nails, honestly, the 7% HP recovery and then the attack and defense is good. Now, beyond that, again, we see this is the turn I'm talking about. Actually, no, it's next that I'm talking about. But right here, we do get Piccolo's Giant Form, which means that since Cooler Core super attack during this turn, we have no like worries about that. So I was like, okay, what should I do here? I decided to keep STR Cooler here and then in Piccolo so that we could try and get the double active skill the following turn. And I did float STR Cooler off. You could have argued it would have been better to keep the coolers together and just float Piccolo off, but I don't know. I think that this would have been, this is a better outcome in this situation, just so I could try and fish for the active skill. And yeah, Piccolo, obviously, he has no issues. I mean, I saw a clip of Piccolo in this fight. I'm pretty sure it was a Rainbow one, but I saw a clip of him tanking the Meta Cooler Core super attack for double digits. Now, it was like that, again, that insane active skill turn, where it's like, I think what they did is they used the active skill in slot 1, they put him in slot 2, then he had, like, you know, his major buffs, and he, like, quad supered. I think, maybe it was just him supering 4 times in the second slot, but that's still absurdly impressive for him type disadvantage to take that, because the Meta Cooler Core hits for like 1.5 mil, you know, on his super attack, right? And Piccolo is type disadvantage, so there's like a extra like 15% multiplier on top of that, which is really, really funny for sure. And yeah, that's pretty much it there for in terms of how Piccolo is going to be working on the team. Like with his giant form, right? It just, and his like defensive abilities is really, really, really good. But yeah, again, this turn does go on for quite some time. And then I do make a mistake here. I'm like, okay, I wanted to use Piccolo's active skill and then put him in slot 1. Then I realized, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to get the extra 60% buff, so why don't I just put him in slot 1 and then use the active skill in slot 2 so I can get the extra 100% buff, right? And then I went to go ahead and do that, so that's why I did reset the app here. Then once I got into the app and did it, what happened is you'll see right here, but I didn't actually get the critical hit with the active skill, which I was like, oh, well, that's way less damage. And then on top of that, you realize, oh, he doesn't actually get the multiplicative 100% attack, right? So the active skill just that's way weaker. And plus, well, I was going to talk about it here, but you have to realize you actually don't get the additional if you use the active skill in slot 2 and put him in slot 1. Because what happens is the active skill, like how it's worded, Piccolo gets 100% attack and defense when super attacking, and then he gets an additional super attack as a second or third attack in the turn. But the additional super attack isn't procced when you super attack. So what happens is the additional super attack is only activated when you collect orbs as a second attack in the turn, from what I'm recalling. So what happens there is you put Piccolo in slot 1, but since he collects orbs in slot 1, he doesn't get the additional super. So yeah, that's how that works, right? But yeah, Golden Frieza taking damage there because he actually did not get any buildup whatsoever. He's been floating off rotation this whole time. But yeah, my junior, this is my 69% my junior. Oh no, that's the Rainbow my junior, my fault. But look at the damage he did. He just finishes off Cooler Gore by himself basically. Like a 13 mil, like triple 13 mil, and then his defense was easily like over 1.5 mil in this turn, probably like actually absurd how good this unit is for sure. This guy is just very, very fun, very, very good to use, and I am personally just a big fan of him. But yeah, from here we are in the Cell Max event, and there's not really much else to say. Just to preface, Cell Max event, I think this is I don't think it's the hardest fight for Piccolo. I don't know. I feel like the Broly fight is a little hard for Piccolo. It's tough because, well, I guess technically none of them are hard for Piccolo, but you can argue that this is the quote-unquote hardest fight for Piccolo because he can't really cheese with his giant form like that. Because what happens is Cell Max, he force ends the turn at the end of the turn. So giant forms are cut off like a turn early. Giant forms can only last one turn in this fight. And then that's just a huge aspect of Piccolo being able to nullify the super attacks and protect the rest of rotation. But since Cell Max stops the turn at the end of the turn and then you move on to the next turn, you can't nullify the super attacks with him. So that's a big issue. Now, the counterpoint is that Piccolo Jr.'s defense is so high, he doesn't worry about super attacks. The only unit that could like realistically die to super attacks here would be the Coolers, and Metacooler. Not Metacooler. Once he's like fully built up, he's fine. But like the Coolers early on, if they get hit with like especially like a type disadvantage super attack, that is pretty bad. Like if we got both of these STR Coolers in slot 1, that would have not gone good for us at all. But luckily, I think these rotations actually end up working out really, really, really well for us. So I was able to cook here with the Cell Max events. And yeah, I think I'm gonna end things here, guys. There's not again anything to really talk about. You can just watch how I take on these final fights if you want to understand, like, you know, how I did certain things here. At this point, you know how I'm gonna be playing with him. And also, Cooler, I think he barely lives this, right? Yeah. Oh my God, I'm like at 2 HP. Goodness, I never even noticed that. Goodness, I almost got killed by a Star Cooler. That's what I'm talking about right there. But that's it for me. Let me know what y'all think about Piccolo's team, and thank y'all for watching. I'll catch you next time.